So in the last video, we talked about some basic Fusion 360 interface. We're going to go a little deeper in this video. We talked about the general menu area. We talked about the view cube on the right, the browser on the left corner here, and the workspace basically, and also the timeline at the bottom that starts to show you all the parts as you build them. So we'll go into detail on a few of these right now. As you can see, this is a new untitled design, not saved yet. And we looked at it. We could do that from file. We could create a new design from here. But what if you want to look at a design that is already created? So you could go to the data panel and first find the design that you want to look at. I'm going to take the example of this Lego brick over here. I want to open this file. So opening this file is pretty simple. You can use the right click button over here to open it, or you can just double click this also. If I double click it, you can see that it's starting to work on the file and it opens up in your workspace. There's Lego brick version 3. It opened up in my workspace. I'm going to go ahead and close the data panel to get more room on my screen here. And what you'll see, what you should notice, is that in the browser you now have bodies and sketches. And if you look into it, there's one body, which is this brick itself, the Lego brick, and it's made up of 6 different sketches. So this gives you an idea of how the body has been constructed. Just something to keep in mind, that you can see the full organization of this body in this browser here. Right now all the sketches are turned off and you see only the body. Okay, so that's one part. That's how you use the browser. So now we opened a new part in here. Just as easy as opening it, you could save it. If you made a change to this, you could just hit the save button and it will save the next version of your file, version 4. All right. Next thing we want to look at is in this workspace, there are some basic settings. If you were going to start sketching, you should do some basic settings. We'll just go through 2 or 3 of them. Go to your name up here in the right corner, and you'll see in there preferences. Click on preferences. And one setting that you should confirm is when you go to the default units setting for design, make sure it's set to millimeters. In our case, we like to work in millimeters, so just check that your units for the design default units is set to millimeters. If not, you can change it to millimeters and apply the change. Okay, the second setting we want to do is you can go down here to this icon which says grid and snaps, and make sure your layout grid is unchecked. If you prefer, you could check it, but then you get this kind of grid on your screen, which is for me a little confusing or distracting, so I prefer to leave it off. And finally, realize that you can use these buttons over here, which is the fit button, to fit everything that you have in this file on one screen here. So for example, if I zoom way into this part and I hit the fit button, it will bring everything into the screen so I can see everything that is in this file. It's a very useful feature. So your settings, you set your preferences, you set your grid, and one last thing to set is the display settings. Go to camera and make sure it is set to perspective with ortho faces. If it's not, then change it to that one. Starting as a beginner, this is the best option to use. We will talk about the differences between these later. Alright, and the next thing to talk about here is the view cube. How do you use this view cube? So basically right now I have a 3D view of my cube over here, and I have 2 ways to manipulate it using the keyboard and mouse. One is called a pan. You can also see the option down here. It's called a pan. Pan is just basically moving the part in a straight line. So how do you do that? You click on the middle mouse button wherever you want on the screen and hold it down. And when I hold it down, if I drag the mouse, the part will move with the mouse. It's only moving with the mouse, up or down, left or right, or wherever you want to move it. This is panning. There's another way to manipulate the part, which is a free move or an orbit. You can see orbit over here. But how do we do that? We use the same middle mouse button, but hold the shift button down at the same time when you click on the screen. And now you see this symbol, which is an orbit, and this allows you to move the part freely in all directions, all orientations. This is very useful to get a quick view of the part or different areas of the part. This is how you manipulate the part using the mouse and the keyboard. So again, if you use only the middle mouse button, you can pan. If you use the middle mouse button with the shift button simultaneously, you can orbit or free move the part. Okay, there's another way to do this now. There's a help here. The view cube that you have up here on the right corner also helps you to get to some predefined views. So for example, if I hit the home button, it brings me back to that 3D view that I started with. If I now hit one of these faces or these blue indicators that I'm getting on this view cube here, it gives me a specific view. So for example, if I wanted to look at this cube from the front, from this side, I hit the front view and now I can see the cube from the front. Or if I wanted to look at it from the right side, it will help me to look directly from the right side. From the bottom, if I want to go to the bottom, I'm going to click on this bottom arrow. Now it shows me from the bottom. At any given point in time, I can hit the home button and it will all come back to the 3D view. So this is pretty much how you use the view cube or the manual controls with your mouse and shift button to manipulate the part. I think that covers most of the topics that I wanted to cover for this video. We will go into other details in the next video.